The battle to unban the sale of tobacco products continues. British American Tobacco is challenging the ban in the Western Cape High Court. The organization insists the ban on cigarettes is not in the national interest and infringes on individual rights. But government maintains the ban is in place to curb the spread of COVID-19. Tobacco products have been banned since the beginning of the lockdown in March. eNCA's Lindsay Dentlinger is following the developments for us, joining us now live. Good morning, Lindsay. What do we expect to happen in court today?
Good morning, Dan. Well, we know that this is a second application to try to unban the sale of tobacco products. And from what we understand from papers filed here in the Western Cape High Court is that British American Tobacco and the 9 others that have joined their case, which includes some tobacco farmers associations, individuals even, that they are going to base their arguments largely on the constitutionality of prohibiting people's rights to choose whether to consume tobacco products or not. They say in their papers that they are mindful of the case in the North Gauteng High Court, where we know the Fair Trade Tobacco Association was not successful in their application. And in their view, the British American Tobacco legal team say that they feel in that case the constitutionality of Regulation 45 was not really challenged and no pronouncements were made. And so that is largely what we understand that they will base their arguments on today, that people's rights, their dignity, their freedom of choice have been infringed upon by government banning the sale of tobacco products.
It's interesting how you balance the infringement on individual rights with the right to life, and which what the government has been using to say it's because of health hazards that they've taken this decision to ban tobacco sales.
Dan, and in response to that, that is a second, from what my interpretation of the papers I've seen filed here is that is a second premise on which they're going to base their arguments. They don't feel that the Minister of Cooperative Governance has given enough scientific evidence to prove that smokers either have a higher incident rate of contracting COVID-19 or that they will clog up the health facilities more than any other patient who might contract COVID-19. And so we can expect a bit of a battle and a bit of a challenge on the numbers that government has presented in their court documents to support that argument that you've pointed out, that it's for health benefits, that they want to curb smoking. And British American Tobacco crunching those numbers that the state has provided, and their challenge that it won't really free up that many ICU beds, they argue, if more smokers were to present themselves to hospital, because there simply isn't any proof, they say, on the face of things that smokers are more susceptible to contracting COVID-19, and then that they would be at a higher risk of requiring ventilation and other more serious interventions should they present themselves to the country's public facilities.
And I wonder if this point will be made, because commercially, and we've seen the importing into the country illegally so, or the appearance in the country illegally so, under the current conditions of cigarettes from other countries, including neighboring Mozambique, neighboring Zimbabwe. You know, I myself have seen people with all kinds of packets, and we've seen some officials, like we saw at the funeral of Andrew Mlangeni, officers smoking. So it looks like it's a losing battle socially for the government, because people, those who smoke, are making ways of finding cigarettes and feeding their habit.
Very much so, Dan. Those are also arguments we can expect to be presented, that the situation is fueling the illicit cigarette trade in the country, and not to mention the losses that we've heard time and time again of what this means to the fiscus, what this means for job losses for people. So not just a situation of public health and keeping the country's public facilities to be able to serve as many people as possible. But really what it's doing for people, as I said, losing their jobs and fueling the illicit trade and all that money that is being lost to state coffers.
Thank you very much. We'll have to wait and see what's going to really take place in court there. That's our colleague, eNCA reporter Lindsay Dentlinger in Cape Town.